Welcome back on the AM show as we get into the next leg of our big stories. And we're hosting some of the senior staff members of the University of Cape Coast, the Senior Staff Association. It has to do with some promotions that are not coming, some appointments that are not coming. They have a host of grievances that this morning we're going to get interactive on as we host our two guests from that institution. We have Sandy Kumi Sinatra. He is chairman of the Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana and UCC Local. He joins the conversation. Sandy, a very good morning to you.
Thank you.
We also have joining the conversation George Ansong, chairman of the KNUST, representing the National Executive Council. Thank you, sir, for joining the conversation. But I'll start with you, Sandy, since the UCC is on the radar and you have a link with them. What exactly is happening in this regard? What's necessitated the recent release that we saw from your outfit?
Thank you very much. Yes, University of Cape Coast is a public university like any other public university. And in the universities, we have common laws, or I would say rules and regulations governing us. And for the common purpose of congeniality, VCG or Vice Chancellor's Ghana deem it fit to have these laws so that there will be uniformity on our campuses. Unfortunately, when it comes to University of Cape Coast, there are some discrepancies in how to implement these policies or laws.
Okay.
And we told our management as far back as last year, we put together some of these concerns and grievances from the senior staff cadre. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough deliberation over it and there was no resolution. Fast to this act, the National Labour Commission ruled that management should engage us to bring finality to the issues. That engagement never happened. So we cautioned management about it, nothing was done, and that is what necessitated our indefinite strike action.
I see. And so how far with that action?
Yeah, so as we speak, from the 13th of April up to now, our members are on strike.
Right.
And the only thing that has come out of the strike is NLC summoning the two parties, that is management of the university and the senior staff association, to appear before the commission this morning. So that is the only update we have had. As to the local level, we have not had any engagement with management.
What would you say has been the impact of the strike as of now? Because senior staff, if you lay down your tools, you know what the impact would be on any institution in this country.
Of course, yes. This is because our staff strength cuts across all categories. Within senior staff, we have members of the teachings, we have teaching staff, we have librarians, we have people at the hospital, and what have you. So all other services on the university campus has been affected greatly, even to an extent that our library, our students are writing exams, but our library at a point, they were compelled to shut down intermittently just because of the strike. But by the grace of God, management has been able to put one or two measures together, and now the students can have a continuous stay at the library. However, yes, the services, as I said, that are being rendered to these students, the general public, and stakeholders in the universities has been affected drastically because of our absence, and which it is not a good situation for the university and its public.
What is your reaction, Mr. Ansong, to these developments as far as the UCC is concerned? And are there similar situations at the KNUST, for example, where you are a National Executive Council member?
No place. And that is what makes the situation unfortunate. It's unfortunate in the sense that management shouldn't have waited till this time. They should have resolved the issue since last year, I think August, till now. They have turned deaf ears to all the concerns raised. Meanwhile, NLC had directed you to sit down with them to resolve the issue up till now. They also wrote to the National Labour Commission that...
You mean the ministry?
No, the minister came in, but they went to NLC National Labour Commission to resolve the issue. So the direction was that go and sit down with them, resolve the issue, come and report to us. And as we speak, nothing has been done. And some of the things that they are doing are alien. It looks like they have enacted their own laws and they are implementing it, whilst the other universities are not also doing the same thing.
So that is the University of Cape Coast. It appears to be operating a very different system from what prevails in other institutions. You also have a linkage to the University of Ghana. Is it as different there as well?
Yes, so as I said, the rest are all going by what the regulator or the policies are saying.
Apart from the University of Cape Coast?
Apart from University of
That is with these public institutions. Is the University of Cape Coast that stands out? Then I'd like to find out, you are also protesting ill practices being meted out to you. Give us some detail, some scope to that. It is clear in other institutions that does not pertain. So let's focus on what pertains at the UCC, and we can share our thoughts on that moving forward.
Okay, so from our presser, we touch on some salient points, yes. So for instance, we are saying that management of the University of Cape Coast is blatantly not implementing our condition of service. There are some allowances in our conditions of service that are being enjoyed by all other sister campuses.
Like which ones?
For instance, we have allowance like overtime allowance when you work beyond the normal working hours, which is the 8 hours that we all know. Yes, this overtime allowance is being paid in all other public universities. In the University of Cape Coast alone, they will tell you you can't do overtime here. Meanwhile, you have to do the work.
Who tells you can't do overtime here?
Management of the university. They will tell you that overtime is not in their books. So no matter what it is, they will find some other allowance that probably they think they are more comfortable with for you and not an overtime allowance, and which we think it is not acceptable. Again, we have colleagues who are in offices that are taking additional responsibility that we expect the university to pay them responsibility allowance. For this one too, most often the university will tell you that they can't pay because they did not send you to that office as the head. For that reason, if even you are doing work beyond what is required of you, you can't be given an extra duty allowance, which is unfortunate because, as I've said, all these things has been negotiated for and agreed with government, and it is part of our condition of service. So if I do the work and the commensurated remuneration that I need to get to enhance my welfare and my well-being, I'm not getting it. It's unfortunate.
I'm curious, why has it taken so long, for this to come? Of course, Mr. Ansong made mention of the fact that since August last year, there had been deliberations and all of that. But even before then, I'm assuming these payments or these remunerations or these benefits were not being given to you. Why did it take this long for it to come up? Especially when other institutions were doing, so to speak, what had to be done.
Okay, so in the past, we used to enjoy these allowances until such a time that our condition of service expired.
Okay, so when was this?
So the condition of service, you are supposed to review it every 2 years.
Okay.
And the very first one was, implemented in 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, so after 2008, there were this back and forth with fair wages. And that's created the room for management to also, have their own rules. So they were thinking that.
So in other words, the delay from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission led to the university adopting its own protocols in that regard.
That is it.
All right.
Yes, but subsequently, the senior staff has signed on to a new condition of service.
Okay.
And this new condition of service has spelled out what we can enjoy. That is why we are just requesting that just implement the condition of service. We are not asking anything more or anything less. It is just a matter of implementation. Implement the new condition of service that we have that gives us the room to do overtime. The other allowances that you are giving us, we have not negotiated for that, and that rate is just being determined by management, which we think it is unfair.
Mr. Ansong, before I go back to Sandy, so do you find it curious, this entire development? He talks about the fact that, yes, there was an arrangement, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission had to come in. At a point, there was a bit of a gap.
Sure.
And then the university intervened by creating its own conditions of service, so to speak, right? But shortly after that, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission remedied the situation, but the right things have not been done. How curious is that in the setting in which you operate? Because what's good for the goose, obviously, should be good for the gander.
Sure, exactly. That is why we are curious, and that is why the National Executive Council is taking it very serious. Because if you don't take care, when University of Cape Coast have its way to implement whatever they have planned, it will trickle down to other
spin-off
universities.
effect.
Yes.
Right.
So we are not taking it kindly at all. It's curious. We are worried.
As a National Executive Council, you say you're worried. What have you done so far in that respect, in that regard?
So because the National Labour Commission asked the two parties, that is UCC local and the management, to sit down, we're waiting for them to resolve the issue. And up till now.
So since August, you've been playing the waiting game.
Sure.
Have you put forward any notices, any petitions, any letters on this matter?
Yes, the national chairman, excuse me, he's in his post. That is why he's not here himself.
Right.
Yes, has been in talks with the management, but it looks like they want to have their own way.
So your national executive chairman has been in talks with the leadership or the management of the University of Cape Coast, but they remain adamant.
Yes.
I see. And the communications, why exactly? What justifies this posture or this position? I mean, in your interactions, has anything come up? Has the University of Cape Coast been able to say it is based on X, Y, and Z that we feel we should maintain this? They
don't have anything to show us. When it comes to upgrade and promotion, for example, UCC is telling us that if you want to become a junior assistant registrar, you need an MPhil. That is a registrar's position. You need an MPhil. But this issue, the regulator, that is Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, has come out to rule on it that once you have your master's, you qualify to be upgraded to senior membership.
So a master's is a master's. It doesn't have to be a master of philosophy. It just must
exactly.
Be. So it could even be an MA.
Yes.
And you can get the role.
Yes.
Right.
And that is what is happening at other universities. But UCC is saying that until and unless we have MPhil. But MPhil is for those who are going into teaching and other areas. Those are the administrative session. They don't do any teaching. So why are you insisting that they should have an MPhil before they are upgraded? Somebody comes with an HND. If you come with an HND and you are administrative staff, you start with what do you call it? AA.
As admin assistant.
Yes. From there, after 4 years, you go to senior. From after senior, 5 years, you go to principal, and then you end at chief at 6-year interval. You are telling us that if you come with an HND and you hit senior, unless you bring a degree, you can never be promoted to principal. And it is not found anywhere. Even the scheme of service that you are using, you have stated it clearly in it. Meanwhile, you wrote the scheme of service, you brought it out. The unions were not part of it. And you have put that thing aside and implementing your own rules. And we are not happy with it.
Let me come back to Sandy Kumi Sinatra. So you make mention of, we've spoken about your conditions of service, and down there's a lot. The promotion bit, he's just started speaking about, of senior staff members. There is the appointments to senior membership and all of that. Again, I just want clarity on this. What has the explanation been? When was the last time these promotions were actually, brought to bear?
Okay, so I must be honest and probably commend the current management. When it comes to the promotion into senior membership, we have seen a lot of improvement. However, there are still some unfairness in it, because management is unable to give us the clear criteria of the things they need. It appears that they are doing select and choose, which is not helping the system.
Wait, you mean they are being selective, and there's no clear guide as to this is how we're going to do it. It's not clear.
It's not clear. Yes, and we have a lot of examples. We have 3 members who were mates. They went through the same course. After graduation, 2 of them were appointed into senior membership. The other one, they told him, you don't qualify. And what makes him not qualified?
And what were the reasons given? Because, I mean, there could be extenuating circumstances that we don't know. Do you know of any such?
No, they will not give you any reason. They only write to inform you that you don't qualify, and that ends it. Without giving you any specific reasons. Because that's what I'm saying. If you have a policy, it should be written black and white so that we all know that this and that is what you need. But you can't select different policy to, meter different treatments to different people. In that case, you are not being fair.
So you're attributing some bias to the university system at the UCC?
Sure.
And also hinged on the fact that it's not clear. I mean, if I want to become a senior lecturer, for example, it must be clear what my path is, what I must do, what I must attain by way of qualifications and all of that, right? So that creates a problem in the system.
Sure. Sure. But I think largely management, looking at their posture, has been relying on the fact that the universities are autonomous. And for that,
Are they really? I know there's a semi-autonomous.
There's a regulator.
Right. And there is a regulator, right.
That is it. That is why, in our case, for instance, we want the government to intervene. Because no matter how your autonomy is, I believe you are not above the law. And when it comes to labor issues, we have the Labor Act, which is the parent law. And for that reason, if even you want to make a subsidiary law, it shouldn't be in contradiction with what the parent law is saying. That is why we want to take it up, and we expect National Labor Commission, which is the arbiter, to also look at the issues and judge them objectively.
Okay, so we know that there's a meeting, and both of you can share your thoughts on this, with the National Labor Commission today.
Yes.
I believe the Ministry for Employment and Labor Relations will also feature there. What would be your expectations ahead of this meeting? What are you armed with that you're going to be sharing with them? I'll start with you, Mr. Ansel.
Yes, my expectation is that the Labor Commission will ask the University of Cape Coast to go and do the right thing and stop implementing rules that are alien to our system. That's all.
But it would appear that had already been done with the regulations that already exist. So if in the past they have not done it, what shows this time it would make any difference? What are your expectations?
Well, when we get there, we'll cross the bridge. When we get to there, yes, because I believe that they will listen this time. I'm just believing that they will listen.
Are there any ways? I do know that these universities operate under law.
Yes.
Are there any mechanisms of, so to speak, meting out any punitive measures if these... You remember the University of Ghana also had its own fracas recently on the back of tariffs, increment of, all of that. And what happens in such instances?
Yes, so for our expectations today, as Labour Commission, as we have already indicated, all the issues are not new issues.
Right.
There are documents and policies that governs all these decisions. So we only are going to point them to refer to these documents. If what we are saying is contrary to what is in the documents, fair enough. But if what the practice that they are meted against us is rather contrary to what is in the document and they are supposed to implement, then of course we will expect the National Labour Commission to do something. Other than that, first to what the national officers or the National Executive Council has issued a release in solidarity of what we are doing, and the expectation is that NLC will be fair and firm to tell management that whatever they are doing is not the right thing, to bring peaceful resolution to the issues. Other than that, although it is only University of Cape Coast that we are being treated unfairly, but however, there's going to be a national strike from next week if nothing is being done about our issues.
All right. Let's wrap with this. So how soon are you expecting that? I mean, your expectation is that the National Labour Commission will rule in your favor, but how soon would you like to see what pertains in other universities being implemented in the UCC, if that is what the stance that the National Labour Commission takes? How soon would you want this?
Yes, and our expectation for the meeting is that they will make that decision. And when that decision is reached, all that is left is for management to officially write and communicate to the university community that henceforth some of these practices that we were doing that we thought it was legal, unfortunately, we have realized that it is no more the stance of government or the association, and going forward, this is what we want to do. And that ends our long outstanding tug of war between us and management of the university. But anything contrary to that, as I said, will inflate a national strike, and the repercussion will be more huge than what we are seeing now.
All right, you've had your final bite, some 15 seconds.
What I'm saying is that the unions are not happy going on strike.
Right.
That's not what we want. We want peaceful environment for everybody to work. So we are pleading with management that they should listen to us. We shouldn't have gotten to where we have gotten to if they had given us the listening ear. So we are pleading with them that they should let peace prevail at the campuses.
All right. Joining us for the conversation, we had Sandy Kumi Sinatra, who is chairman, Senior Staff Association at the University of Ghana and the University of Cape Coast. Then we have George Ansong, chairman, KNUST, representing the National Executive Council. Now, both of them have been talking about the treatment of senior staff at the University of Cape Coast. Today, they have a meeting with the National Labour Commission at which the Ministry for Employment and Labour Relations will also be ably represented. Thank you for staying with us for that conversation. But up next, the GRA is on a revenue mobilization drive. Interesting, isn't it? We've heard from the ECG, the Ghana Water Company Limited, on these drives. Now the GRA is doing same. It is in a bid to boost socioeconomic development in Ghana. What do they have in the offing? We'll be telling you about that right after the break.